Hey guys, Dusty here. I just got back from a run with my Metaspeed Sky, and that finally put me over the 100k or 60 mile mark, so it's time for my full review. So I've thrown a little bit of everything at the shoe. I've done easy runs, tempo runs, intervals at the track, hill repeats, and I even did a marathon in the shoe in training. And in this video, I'll go over the specs on the shoe, who Asics says that this shoe is for, how this shoe worked for me and how I'll use it going forward, and finally who I think that this shoe is for. So let's get into the specs on this shoe. The Asics Metaspeed Sky has a 5mm heel to toe drop with a stack height of 33mm in the rear and 28 in the forefoot. It's a very light shoe. My men's size 8.5 weighs in at 6.8 ounces or 192 grams. And when you compare that with all the other shoes out there, that's definitely one of the lighter ones, and it's definitely top tier when it comes to weight of a shoe, especially one that's max cushioned like the Metaspeed Sky. Now, as far as fit of the Metaspeed Sky, I'm not sure I can say it fits true to size. For myself, I probably did go with the right size. However, I think for a lot of other runners, you're going to want to go up half a size. So as far as length goes, it's a little bit short, but otherwise the rest of the fit is really nice. There is a little bit of room in the forefoot, so if you do have a wider foot and you haven't found a super shoe that's worked for you, Asics Metaspeed Sky and the Edge could be a good option for you. Lockdown was good in the midfoot, had no heel slipping issues whatsoever. If you did experience that too, there is that extra eyelet so you could tie them up using the runner's knot. The upper on this shoe is pretty bare bones. The mesh breathes just fine. It's very, very stiff. There's no give to this upper whatsoever, so you're gonna have to really loosen the laces up when you take the shoe on and off. The tongue is not gusseted. It is extremely thin as well. Pretty basic cotton laces too. Insole in this shoe is not removable, and there's very little structure to the heel in this shoe as well. Just a touch of padding along the heel collar. Now we move along to the midsole, which is what makes these shoes so special. Asics is using their Flight Foam Blast Turbo midsole, and that's their foam that's featured in their super shoes, so the Metaspeed Sky and the Metaspeed Edge. And personally, I think it's one of the better midsoles out there, along with Nike's Zoom X foam. This midsole is pretty cushioned, bouncy, responsive. And if I had to rate the softness of it, I would say it fits somewhere between the Saucony Endorphin Pro midsole and the Nike Vaporfly. So certainly not a really firm midsole, but it's nowhere near as bouncy or as squishy as a shoe like the Nike Vaporfly. And then, of course, sandwiched in the middle of this midsole is a carbon fiber plate, and that's what makes this shoe ultra stiff, as well as in combination with the midsole material, what makes all these super shoes faster than regular shoes. And just a weird side note, watching this shoe in slow motion is one of my favorite shoes to watch. You can really see the midsole compress every foot strike when you slow down running footage in the shoe. Then if we move along to the outsole, there's quite a bit of rubber. Now, I don't think it's the most durable rubber, but so far over 100k, there isn't a ton of wear on the rubber. But where the midsole is exposed, very, very heavy wear. And to be honest, it looks pretty bad, but I think it's mostly cosmetic. I don't think over 100k the shoe has lost anything compared to when I first started running in it. And I think going forward, if there's a second iteration of this, maybe they can add a little piece of rubber at the back for us heel strikers, just to minimize that wear that the exposed midsole is having so far. Overall, I like this outsole. It's really grippy, but I do have a couple of issues with it. First of all, how quickly this heel is wearing away. And second of all, this exposed midsole is very, very soft. So I've actually stepped on a couple of rocks and they have gone really deep into the midsole, and actually they've probably even gone so deep that they've ended up hitting the carbon fiber plate. I don't think there's any damage to the plate, but it was so deep inside the shoe I actually had to grab scissors and a knife and cut around it to try and pull it out with tweezers. And you can actually see the hole where that sharp rock went through. And I had another rock get stuck in the other shoe as well, but not as bad. And it also happened in my Metaspeed Edge, which has the exact same outsole as the Sky. So just something to be mindful of. These shoes are obviously meant for mostly pavement, and I have done a little bit of hard pack trails, which probably hasn't helped how much wear these shoes have gotten so far. Now, as far as the ride of the shoe, it's very, very comfy. It's probably the comfiest shoe I've ever ran in that weighs less than 7 ounces. And as you can see, as it's just sitting here, it does have quite a bit of a rocker look to it. And personally, I don't find it that aggressive. The Metaspeed Sky is also one of the more stable shoes out there. Now, I'm not talking so much in terms of stability as far as support, It's definitely a neutral support shoe, but as far as every foot strike goes, it's a very stable platform, and a lot of that probably has to do with how wide this forefoot is. That in combination with this midsole not being ultra squishy, that makes this shoe, at least for a super shoe, very stable. So for myself, no issues running with this shoe on a road that had a bit of a camber to it, or taking sharp corners in this shoe. Now before we get into what I think about this shoe, let's talk about who Asics says this shoe is for. So Asics came up with two super shoes this year, the Metaspeed Sky and the Metaspeed Edge. And they're very similar shoes, just with subtle variations, especially in the stack height and drop of the shoe. And this is Asics' thinking behind it. They say that the Asics Metaspeed Sky is for stride runners and the Edge is for cadence runners. Now to explain that as simply as I can, if you're a stride runner, that means your cadence relatively stays the same no matter if you're doing an easy run or if you're doing a race. The biggest difference when you're running from easy to fast is that your stride length just gets longer. So on the flip side, the Asics Metaspeed Edge is for cadence runners. And cadence running is very simple. I 100% fall into that category. And it's basically the faster you run, the faster your cadence increases. So just take the run I did this morning, for example. I did 10K easy, 10K medium, and my cadence during the 10K easy was 178 steps per minute, and then my cadence during the 10K medium was 184 steps per minute. And if I had bumped that up to like half marathon race pace, it would be closer or over 190 steps per minute. So that's a really big range in my cadence. And I absolutely fall into the cadence category, which means this shoe probably isn't the right shoe for me. The Asics Metaspeed Edge probably is. And if you run with a Garmin, you can easily figure this out by looking through your runs. Your watch probably calculates your cadence for you, and you can see if you have a wide variation in your cadence at easy to medium to fast paces. So that's Asics' recommendation for who this shoe is for, and based on that recommendation, this shoe isn't for me. And I think that's true. I really like running in this shoe, but shoes that I think are more designed for cadence runners, at least when it comes to running fast or racing in, I prefer all these other cadence type shoes over the Metaspeed Sky. In particular for really fast running, like I said, I've done intervals and hill repeats in this shoe, and when I want to go really fast, I feel like maybe the shoe is just holding me back ever so slightly, at least when you compare it to another shoe like the Asics Metaspeed Edge or the Vaporfly. Those shoes I almost have to hold myself back because my cadence is almost going too fast, and in this shoe I almost find it a struggle holding those higher cadences. But at everything from marathon pace slower, maybe even half marathon pace, the shoe feels really nice to run in. Like I mentioned at the start of this video, I have done a marathon in this shoe. I actually ran it on my birthday a couple of months ago. I ran the first, I think, 30 or 32K, just kind of at a steady medium effort, and then I really picked up the pace the final 10K. And I ran my birthday marathon, I think, in just under 2:39, and these shoes were awesome to run in for that effort. Very comfy and enough cushion that my feet didn't get tired. But ultimately for myself, when it comes to race day, I'm looking for something a little bit more aggressive and a shoe that works a little bit more naturally with my cadence and lets me run at how I'm used to running on race day. So overall, a shoe I really like, but probably not a shoe I'm going to choose for race day. I'll probably keep using them for long runs when I have some tempo work or other high quality efforts in my long run. And if you're interested in the shoe, first of all, you have to figure out if you're a stride runner or a cadence runner. And then if you are a stride runner, I think this shoe can be one of the best options out on the market for you, at least in terms of super shoes. You're getting plenty of cushion, definitely enough for a marathon. You're going to get a shoe that has plenty of room and width in the forefoot, and because of that, it's not a really unstable shoe. So finally, that leads us into price. The Asics Metaspeed Sky retails for $250 US or $325 Canadian. So yes, a little bit outrageous, but honestly, I think the Metaspeed Sky and the Metaspeed Edge are probably two of the shoes that come closest to competing with the Nike Vaporfly and the Nike Alphafly, which are just as much money as these shoes. And that's just the way that these super shoes are being priced now. You can definitely buy faster run times if you buy the proper super shoe for you. You just got to pay up, like in the case of this, $250 or $325. So ultimately, being a cadence runner myself, this isn't a shoe I would buy in the future, but if you're a stride runner, it's definitely one that I would think about. I hope you liked my review. Let me know down below in the comments if you have a Metaspeed Sky or if you have a Metaspeed Edge and what you think of them. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.